let's get right into that. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is what we currently have right now as far as the Raider squad coming from 2021 to 2022 season. Now, I talked a little bit about this in the salary cap review, the list of active contracts, and I'm going to talk first about the additions that I either want to make. These are extensions or re-signing players that were here that are currently free agents. Now, if you look at this, now these are the 5. Now I'm not going to go into every single one. These are kind of the major players here. Now, Derek Carr, now if you look here, quarterback, now the cost, it says 0 here. I already added the 20 million to my cap number. I did that in the last one. I'll get to the final cap number after we go through this whole thing, but I just wanted to go through the net cost right now. So he's scheduled to make 20. Say he gets 40 million 2023, 2024. It's not going to affect this season. We're only talking about the 2022 season and how we can get players to reload and contend just for this year and fit under the salary cap. So this would be a net 0 because he would keep his 20 million for this year. Now, Max Crosby, he's scheduled to make 4.2 million this year, grossly underpaid. He's one of the best edge rushers in the league. I'm saying pop another 11. That puts him at about 15.2. That's about how much Unique Ngakoue is making right now. We're probably going to have to pay this guy probably 18 to 20 million as one of the top edge rushers. But I'm thinking you give him this now, and then 23 and 24, you bump it up to that $20 million mark. Hunter Renfrow, a similar situation. He's only making 2.6 million. He's on the last year of his rookie contract, just like Max Crosby. And I'm bumping him up at least 6 million. That gets him to about $9 million. Might even give him a couple million more. I'm thinking about 10 to 15 is probably what he's going to be worth in the open market based on his performance. So I think we can backload that as well into 23 and 24. Now, Quentin Jefferson, we'll get to Mariota in a minute. Sandy B, I see your comment there. Quentin Jefferson is officially a free agent, unrestricted free agent. So I would like to bring him back, or even Darius Philon if his knee's okay, and I would pay him around $3.5 million. So that one's kind of open. If he doesn't want to come here, that's fine. But that kind of gives us a basis, either him or Philon, to come back at the DT spot. I think that's a good price for him. And then I put Marcus Mariota here as a backup. I think $3.5 million for a backup is fair, to be honest. If he doesn't want to go and he gets a starting position, that's fine. Pop in a backup's name there. That's how much I would allocate for a backup quarterback to Derek Carr, about $3.5 million. Now, let's get to the players that I think we need to get rid of here. As far as the departures, obviously Corey Littleton. Now, I went through our salary cap numbers, and I also went through a lot of these are, if we hold them until after the June 1st cutoff, we can save a lot more money. But Corey Littleton, he is scheduled to make 15.8 million right now. If we cut him after June 1st, we only take a $4 million hit, and we can save $11.8 million on the cap. Now, this is the guy we got, a free agent from the Rams. Hasn't panned out, and in fact, he lost his job to rookie Divine Diablo. I talked about that in the last live stream. So I don't want to pay $15.8 million for a special team guy. That's ridiculous. He didn't pan out here. He needs to go somewhere else, and we can save a boatload of money. Now, Khalil Farrell, I put a little asterisk here. We'll get to him in a minute. We'll get to him a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit later, but that's $10 million right now on the books for him. Nick Kwiatkowski, same type of situation. He's scheduled to make 8.3. If we cut him after June 1st, it's only a $1.3 million hit. To me, it makes sense. Again, another guy who lost his job this time, middle linebacker job to Denzel Perryman. I think we could do better and take that $7 million and even get a couple of backup players anyway. So I would want to move on from him as well. Carl Nassib gained $6.2 million on him. Makes sense. I don't want to pay this guy $8-9 million. He's not worth it, to be honest with you. And then Foster Moreau. A lot of people are going to say, well, we should keep Foster, the 2 tight end set like the Patriots did, blah, blah, blah. If they do, that's fine. But if they don't, we can save a little over $2.5 million on him. You know my feelings on Foster Moreau, especially if you're a longtime watcher of the channel. He really pissed me off this year. Didn't step up. Created a lot of problems. To me, I would do that. But if we don't, it's not a huge deal. It's only $2.6 million. So now, saying that, now we have some holes to fill. Now, I talked about these in the last 2 live streams. I put the links in the descriptions. If you haven't caught those, I put the ones for both the offense and the defense. I condensed them down to about 10-15 minute videos. And I focused on 3 positions on each side of the ball. And you can see right here who I focused on and some possible replacements or reloading of those positions, so to speak. Now, this is what I would do right now. I'm going to take these down the line. Now, wide receiver, I want to get Brandon Cooks. Now, I'm going to say he's going to be about $20 million to sign him, and I'll get to that in a minute. Now, I did talk about Cleve Farrell. Now, this is what I would do. I would propose a trade. I would trade Cleve Farrell in either our 4th round pick this year or our 3rd round pick next year for Brandon Cooks. Now, I'll tell you why. There's a bunch of reasons why this makes sense for both sides. Number one, Cleve Farrell's in the last year of his contract. I doubt we're going to do the 5th year extension on him. Honestly, he's not worth $10 million. Number two, Houston's defense is awful. They're one of the lowest overall, and they're the worst against the run. And Cleve Farrell is pretty good against the run. Number three, I said 2022 4th round this year or next year's 3rd, whichever one that they would want, because I don't want to give up my 3rd round pick this year, because I'm looking at the draft talent, and I'm looking at about like the top 100 guys. There, after that, there's kind of a drop off. I wouldn't want to give up that 3rd round pick, because I think those first 3 picks, we should be able to get starters at some level, whether it's an elite level or just a decent starter with those first 3 picks. So I don't want to give that up this year. I said this before, Houston's general manager, Nick Caserio, was a former Patriot, came from that tree, knows Josh McDaniels. And I think that kind of goes a long way. Plus, Brandon Cooks is in the last year of his contract. They voided out 2023 and 2024 to save some money on the cap last year. And so he's on his last year. Farrell's on basically his last year. I don't think we're going to extend him a 5th year. This makes sense for both sides. We get Cooks, make out a new contract. He's currently making about $14 million now. We give him about 18 to 20 million, bump it up a little bit. He's happy. We can fit it, and it's going to save us more money than getting one of these big guns here. Next guy I want to talk about, of course, is Bobby Massey, a veteran right tackle. I would say he's an average right tackle. He's not a great right tackle, but, you know, after Brandon Parker, anything's an upgrade at this point, especially if we're going to keep Leatherwood at right guard. This would make sense. I'm thinking we get him and then get a right tackle in the draft and kind of groom him. I think, especially the price, these are kind of spot track estimated prices, so $3.5 million. I'm okay with that. Let's get to the running back. Of course, I'm going with Melvin Gordon. We might get Sony Michel because of the Patriot ties, but I like Melvin Gordon a little bit better, especially inside. We need a guy to spell Josh Jacobs. We talked about that in the last in the offensive live stream. And he had a pretty good season with Javonte Williams in Denver. I think he's still got a couple more years left in the tank. Give him a 2-year deal, maybe 2-year, $10 million deal, and we can afford that. Now, let's get to the cornerbacks. Now, I don't really want to pay that much for Jackson. I know some people are saying, well, it won't be $20 million plus, could be 18, but still, I still don't want to pay that much. I would rather double up on some decent corners and basically get these 2 guys for the price of one of these guys and have some depth as well, especially since Arnett's gone. Mullen, he's off and on with injuries. These guys are kind of proven. Not great, but pretty good, especially Bryce Callahan. I talked about him being a slot guy. He's smaller guy, but he's very physical. I like that, and I think that he would be a great addition as well. Next one's linebacker. Of course, I like Barr over Hightower. I think the playmaking ability, I think $7-8 million is a right price for this guy, an outside linebacker. He can also rush the passer. He can do a lot. I don't think that's the only thing we need to do with the linebacking core, and I'll talk about that in the draft part, but I think that's a good start. And like I said, Barr and Hightower, they're playmakers. We need to get them more turnovers. These guys strip the ball. They get interceptions. This is what we need. We're sorely lacking that. And like, again, the versatility I talked about in Coach Graham's defense. And then the last one, I really like Larry Ogunjobi. I'm 99% sure his foot's going to be okay. 28 years old, got 7 sacks last year, interior line. And he's going to be, if we get him, he's going to be playing with 2 edge rushers that are better than he had with Cincinnati. I liked him when he was with Cleveland. He had one kind of bad year, unfortunately. Got a 1-year deal with Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati's going to keep this guy. They're going to be worried about keeping Riley Reif, their left tackle, and they're going to give some money to Jesse Bates. He's coming due as well, or franchise him. So I think he's going to be out there. I think we should go get this guy. That'll help shore it up. And not only that, we do that, he can also play the 1. If Patrick Graham wants to run a 3-4 at times, he can do that. He's very versatile. Like I said, he's 20 years old. Give him a 3-year contract. I think he'll be okay. Now, with all these additions and roughly about $7 million to cover the draft picks, they're saying the first round draft pick, 22nd, will be about $3 million. So I'm guessing about $7 million overall. We'll be under about $26 million, 27. Now, I said we could probably go to about 40 without causing any problems. Now, I'll let the capologist get us to zero. I mean, even if we want to get Devontae Adams, add $10 million, I think that's doable, but I think it's going to hurt us in some of these other spots, to be honest with you. I'd rather get the discount, plus you're moving Cleve Farrell. Now, here's some of my draft scenarios that I went through. Now, I went through some of these mock drafts databases. Now, this is from NFL Mock Draft Database. Now, I wanted to focus on buffering some of the positions, mainly at tackle, defensive line, linebacker, and corner. Now, I did a pretty good job here. Trevor Penning, this would be a great guy for us if he falls here. Now, some of the knocks on these mock draft databases is that the rankings are kind of messed up, and I'll really talk about another one. I did a few more, but if he comes to us, this would be a great guy for us as far as run blocking. I think he can do the gap scheme, helmet over helmet, pound the ball. He's got a mean streak. I like this guy. Perrion Winfrey's running up in the draft. I don't know if he'll be here, but I thought that would be a good guy to put next to Ogunjobi. Brian Asamoah, I like this guy, outside linebacker, tweener kind of a guy. I think he could also play safety if we need him to. So I think the versatility helps there. I couldn't believe Brian Robinson Jr. was here from Alabama. I think he would be a nice guy right behind Jacobs, also a guy from Alabama, of course. Cam Taylor-Britt, a tall, a bigger kind of a guy. So this was kind of versatility or big, strong, hit you in the mouth kind of guy. Same thing with Javon Hillay here, kind of a sleeper guy, a bigger kind of kid. And Noah Ellis, basically a one technique guy. I got him in the 7th round. I think he could even not only make the team, but at least be on special teams, maybe even do some 3-4 for you. Now, another one I did was PFN Mock Draft Simulator, Pro Football Network. I think they have the best mock draft simulator as far as trading and moving around, but some of the rankings are really head scratchers. They had Bernhard Raidman at 91. I cannot believe he will last until the 3rd round. That's not going to happen. I actually traded down here to 30th and got Trent McDuffie, a corner, kind of bolster, have a youth guy with a couple of vets. We need the depth anyway. Then Raymond in the 2nd round. Darian Kennard, a guy I talked about in my live stream. I don't think he's a tackle. He's more of a guard. I think that's where he goes. So it would be a good fight with him if we decide to get rid of Denzel Good at guard. If he had that injury, can he come back? That's $4 million on the cap. We can get rid of him and put this guy in there. Asamoah again, I like him. Ridgeway, another defensive tackle, kind of a sleeper pick, a big guy. I think that's super value. Jesse Luketa, an outside linebacker. They say edge. I think he's more of an outside linebacker, to be honest. And then Jojo Doman. They say linebacker here. He's more of a big corner. But again, it gives you that flexibility I think that Coach Graham was looking for. And then the last one, of course, is PFF, Pro Football Focus. Everybody's big one here. And I'll have to say this, of all the rankings, theirs is probably the best, but their simulator's more clunky, but we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Now, I did trade. I couldn't believe this. I don't necessarily think this would happen, but I traded down from 22nd and got the 32nd and 34th picks from Detroit. I really feel that the draft has a lot of talent in the top two or three rounds, like I said. So I'll move down, and I still got Raymond. I got a nice plug-and-play right tackle from the very beginning. Asamoah again. Of course, I must be liking this guy. Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama. Small school, a lot of talent here. I like him. Jojo Doman, they call him a corner here. They called him a linebacker here. Big kid, though. I think he was better fit at the corner. Damian Pierce, a guy I talked about in the offensive live stream, very strong, especially in the lower body. This is what I call my 3rd quarter running backs who can spell Jacobs and pound the ball. Some interior line help, Ridgeway again, and Ellis. So I think that's pretty good right there. So I want to know what you think about my scenarios. What I think.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing. Just win, baby.